Let's go, Rider Nation.
I'm ready. I'm ready. Yeah, here we go. Here we go. Get the feeling now. Get 'em high, get 'em low. 'Cause we're getting now. Everybody's giving it all they got. 'Cause we're ready.
Alex here with a special episode of the Piffles Podcast. Thanks for joining me here. And it's a new kind of interview for the show. We've never really done an interview like this before. We've interviewed players, coaches, alumni, commissioners of the CFL here on the show over the years, but never a spouse to share what it's like to be married and live with and live the life with a CFL head coach. So we're going to do that today. And joining me right now is Petra Mace, of course, Riders head coach. Corey Mace is her husband. Petra joins us here on the Piffles Podcast. Petra, thanks for taking time from your busy schedule to talk to Rider Nation.
No problem. My pleasure. Thanks for having me, Alex.
And when I say a busy schedule, you have the two young kids, of course, the cutest little family. You have Melina, who's 5, and judging by your Instagram, going on 15 sometimes.
Yes.
And of course,
really
Micah. Micah just turned 2. Looks exactly like daddy.
Twins.
They must keep you pretty busy.
They are so busy, like so busy. Micah especially, just like constant pool of energy. Just all he wants to do is play sports, throw footballs, play hockey. So it's constant for sure. Yeah.
He doesn't like lifting weights, doing the dumbbell. The look on his face the other day.
He lifts like his dad. He does not like lifting, just like his dad. They're twins, man. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, he was struggling there. So funny.
So with having the 2 kids, and of course Corey at work all the time, does Mama ever get time for herself?
You know, we've been doing this for a few years now, so we make it a priority to have like resources in place to support my quality of life and mental health for sure. And you know, I mean, I do have other things that I do on the side too. So it's important that, you know, they are enrolled in things so that they can have fun. They're, you know, stimulated in so many different ways, learning, making friends with other kids as well. And then I also have the time to do whatever I need to do around the house or, you know, for work or get groceries or just there's so many things that need to be done. So we do make it a point to, you know, even before we moved to Regina, the first thing I did, look for daycares or day homes available. And, you know, we came across a really amazing babysitter that helps us out on game days and other date nights and stuff like that. So that's number one priority for sure.
And with the move to Regina, how are you enjoying it so far? I know you're born and raised in Calgary, and I know there's always the Calgary-Regina rivalry, especially in football.
Yeah.
How are you enjoying the first few months here in Regina so far?
I love it. I mean, people are like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, honestly, don't be. Like, I love Regina so far. The people in Saskatchewan have been so incredible, so welcoming. I really love the fact that it has like a small town feel, a small town vibe, but it's like everything you need is really 10, 15 minutes away. So it never bothers me to drive from like, you know, the top of the city to the bottom or east to west. Like, it's honestly the perfect size city for a young family. Truly, it's a great place to raise a family. So I feel grateful to be here.
And Corey and the kids, they're liking it here as well, I can assume?
We all love it. The funniest thing is like now I think people are starting to recognize him a little more. So, you know, I dragged him to Costco the other day and literally stopped like every few minutes. And I'm like upset because I'm like, he can't help me with the Costco runs anymore. But no, we are enjoying it so much. Like we've made such great friends and community here is amazing. Our neighbors are incredible. The organization itself, like the Riders organization, is top notch. We just feel so grateful, you know, and thankful to have being able to work alongside them. Like it's just been awesome. So everything about Regina, it's funny, like being born and raised in Calgary and, you know, being a Stamps fan my entire life. I was just like, always like, oh, never. I hate Saskatchewan. I will never wear green. You know what I mean? And it's just funny how things change. Like it's crazy. So Yeah, but now we bleed green. Like we're wearing green. All I shop for is green. Our kids are in green all the time. Melina and Micah's favorite color is green. Like everything is daddy football. So
Well, I
it's
have to admit, by judging the pictures that you post, you all look so much better in green than you did in even double blue, but especially red for sure.
I know I literally on Canada Day, I was like looking through my closet. I literally don't own any red anymore. Like I tossed that out, 3 seasons ago, and now no blue even. Like it's all green. So yeah, that's all I
Um,
shop for, green.
so you mentioned the Costco thing. I actually talked to Michael Riley's wife one year at Grey Cup, and
Mhm.
she was trying to leave the event, and he gets pulled aside and pulled aside. And I said, "Do you ever get sick of this? Like you're trying to go out and have dinner tonight, and no, you can't because the fans are pulling you aside."
Mhm.
Have you guys kind of hit that part yet, where Corey's getting pulled aside, and you're like, "Hey, Corey, come on, let's wrap it up here."
Yeah, I mean, I don't get bothered by it at all. Honestly, I think everyone's very respectful. It hasn't gotten to the point where it's like, oh my goodness, but we make decisions, mindfully. Like if we do want to have a date night and we kind of need privacy or whatever, we'll kind of like rethink about where we're going or when we're going or stuff like that. But I just and I just find it like funny, like it's weird to see because I've known him for so long, that we'll just like go somewhere and everyone starts clapping, and I'm like, what is happening? But he deserves it. He honestly is such an amazing man, like on and off the field, and he is just that guy. Like he deserves all of it, but it doesn't bother. I don't think it bothers either of us. It's actually like it's kind of a cool feeling, it's a cool thing to be recognized because I've been in places where that's not the case, right? So to see how passionate and involved the fans are is actually something that I feel is really special.
Well, it helps when the team's 5-1 right now. Everyone's in a pretty good mood watching the team. If they start losing a couple games,
I
maybe
know.
plan a little bit more, inside dates than movie nights or something at home
No,
instead.
exactly. Exactly. That's one thing. Everyone's like very passionate and intense. So I'm like, we're going to ride the wave while we can. But, keep in mind, it's a game. Like they're meant to be won
Yep.
and, wins and losses. So, be gentle on us.
Now, when Corey got the job, moving to Regina, the travel back and forth, all that I'm sure was a big whirlwind for you guys. What was it like, though, to basically have your life documented with cameras for a few days when Corey got the job and you had, the riders putting cameras up? Of course, anytime fans see you guys, cameras are up and taking selfies and all that. What was it like just to have cameras on you for days when when this whole thing happened?
Yeah, I mean, that was like during his press conference kind of time. And I remember that like so vividly. He was like, "Oh, do you want to bring the kids?" And I was like, "No, I don't think that's a good idea. Like, we're not going to bring them for 24 hours just to see all this." And I'm honestly glad we didn't. Like, it was a really nice, special time for us to kind of acknowledge what had been happening. But it definitely was at that point that the change in culture, like, kind of shocks you a little bit. You're like, oh, these people, like, yeah, they're really all about football. You know what I mean? And again, just felt like it was such a natural transition that, like, this is truly where we're meant to be. And it was a nice feeling to see how much appreciation people, you know, put into this team because I see how hard the coaches and the players work, right? But not everyone does see how long and hard they work and how much time and energy they put in. So it was kind of like nice to just be accounted for in that means.
Um, it wasn't the first time your family kind of went through, obviously changing cities, but also Corey going for a head coaching job. He was one of the finalists for Ottawa the
Yeah.
previous off season. Um, how is it? How is it different for both of you going into this past off season, having you know, the opportunity to interview and everything before? Were you able to sit them down and just say, "Hey, you know what? Like, don't worry about it. Just go be you." Like, was there anything different this time other than obviously him getting the job?
Yeah, I think, we kind of chatted about like, what he wanted to do. And I think for anyone, there's like some fear or anxiety that goes into making big decisions like that, especially when your family is like kind of attached to you. Like that means entirely new everything for us, right? So it can be uncomfortable, but I kind of just reassured him, like, we're supporting you every step of the way. Whatever you feel like is the right move, like we're going to back you 100%. And if that means moving across the country again, then we're going to do that, like as long as he felt like he was pursuing his passion and dreams and working toward his idea of what he wants for himself, then that's what I wanted to support him with. And, having made the move like 2 years earlier to Toronto, I felt like we've done it before, we can do it again. And in some ways, like, moving closer west is closer to my family and our family too, right? His family too is in Vancouver and San Diego. So like I said, it just kind of felt like a very natural transition. And of course, there's like things that come up that you're like, well, how are we going to deal with this? Or what if we can't do that? Like it's all very logical things. But when you understand how uncomfortable growth can be, you just kind of handle whatever you need to handle to get through it. And, the team was very supportive with a lot of stuff as well. So I kind of just had to take him out of his head. Like, I understand your concerns and rightfully so, you are supporting an entire family, but we're right here with you. Like, we're going to ride with you.
No, I'll never forget Corey's introduction as head coach here in Saskatchewan. Of course, you were there. The first thing he said was that it was awesome to have you there. But he also mentioned the sacrifices players and coaches make to be great. And that unfortunately comes at the expense of family most of the time. You are the family. How difficult is it on you to have a husband whose job keeps him away from you and the kids as much as it does?
Yeah, I will say, like, it is a giant sacrifice. Like, the time and energy they put into, football is wild. Like, if I try to explain to people what his schedule is like, they can't comprehend that he works 7 days a week or that he's in the office at 5 a.m. and comes home sometimes after the kids are asleep. So it's a huge commitment. But he is like all about just putting in the work, you know what I mean? Because you put in the work to reap the benefits. So it's a huge chunk of time. And there are times when, I wish we could have family time. Like the weekends I see families together or couples together and I'm like, oh, that would be nice, but at the same time, like we have really awesome experiences that a lot of the general population doesn't get to have. So it's again one of those things that's a compromise. Like we understand the intention, we understand what's on the line, we understand what the goal is, and it's part of it. You know what I mean? Like I could also have someone who is doing something they don't enjoy doing, who's not fulfilled, who's not passionate, and then it doesn't really do anything for our life in the end too. So as long as he feels fulfilled and driven and inspired to keep coaching, and obviously he's doing a great job doing it, I never had any doubt, then we're gonna make sure he follows his dreams. Yeah.
When he does come home at the end of the workday or night, whatever it is he able to just shut it all off, put football away and just focus on family? Or is there like, he's got to go back to the home office and work on a game plan or something?
He's usually really good about compartmentalizing. Like when he's home, he is all in at home. And that's something I really appreciate. Like he could be so tired and so exhausted, but he really like just puts that all to the side. He's fully present when he's here, especially when the kids are around. He's playing dollies with Melina. He's playing football with Micah. He is like so all in. And I really appreciate that because I know it's draining and exhausting. But he really savors all those moments. So although we lack time, he makes up for it with effort and other things. But yeah, it never seems like it's enough, but he always does his best. I mean, there's times for sure he'll have to step out to make a phone call or, all of those things happen, but it's all good. It's nothing that's bothersome, we understand.
Now, full disclosure, while we record this, it's game day. The Riders are in Montreal tonight.
Yeah.
Kickoff in just a couple hours, actually.
I know, 2 hours.
What's a game day like for the Mace family? First off, today, when it's a road game.
Well, today's weird because it's a Thursday and it's a road game. So the kids are at day home right now, which I was happy because I obviously had a lot of like work and stuff to do. But Listen, after this, I'm going to grab them. We're going to go get a meal or something. We're going to put the game on and we're going to scream at the TV and we're going to yell, "Go Daddy." Like it's full on in our house. We wear green. Everyone just gets decked out. Like we are all about it. We got a watermelon obviously for dessert. So it's a big deal. But the game days that are here, it's a little bit different. Like Corey ends up getting like very much in his zone, and so we like to spend the morning together, but he kind of like, has to go into work a little bit early because he just gets so focused, so locked in. And I understand. So we're just like, make sure you go do what you need to do. Yeah. Get in the zone.
And then how do the kids like the game day here in Saskatchewan? Do you guys go to the party in the park? Do you guys go early, or are you just right to your seats and hoping to see the team, during warm-ups?
Yeah, well, I mean, the last two games were evening games. So I actually left the kids at home so that we could have, I could actually watch the game. Because when they go, like they love, love, love it. But it's also one of those things, it's kind of hard for me to watch and see what's going on. And I think any mom knows, like it's just not the same, right? So there's been, I mean, and to be honest, my kiddos are still pretty young. Like Micah's really young, right? So we have a shelf life and we try to wait for Corey after the game, but that's like a 5-6 hour stretch of time, and they're not always like up for that. So sometimes we go early and leave early, sometimes we go a little later and leave a little later. We had been to the party in the park. I wish we had more time. Like next time we may go earlier just to enjoy it a little bit more, because it was really fun and there was a lot of activities and entertainment and stuff like that. But just the crowd is awesome, the energy is awesome. Like it's one of those things where you want to be a part of that. Like it's special. And the last two games, even without the kids, I have enjoyed it so much. And I love everything about it.
Now, I'm curious, as is all of Rider Nation, to learn a little bit about you. And you got into fitness pretty early. I did some research here. You got into like bodybuilding. How
Yeah.
did you get into that?
Yeah, so I was like a dancer, a performer actually. I was with the Young Canadians of the Calgary Stampede. We put on the show for the Grandstand show. So it's a big outdoor show. Did that. And then I was with the Outriders for 3 years. I danced for the Calgary Roughnecks drill crew for 4 years. And, you get to a point as an adult dancer where it's kind of like, what do you do next? Like you can't dance, for the rest of your life. Or some people go on cruise ships, some people do whatever. I knew that I just loved to move my body. So I kept seeing like things for bodybuilding competitions. And actually, Corey was the one to get me started with my first competition, my first coach. He like totally set me up. And that was the start of it, was like, let's do a fitness competition and, just do it and see what happens. So I ended up doing like 5 shows in 9 months and winning the first 4. So I became a national champion. And then I went to the Arnold Amateur Sports Festival where I was like fully sponsored to go compete among the world's best. And I came in 5th, in my category. So it was really such a cool opportunity. And it was amazing, but I did end up getting into a car accident after the 4th show. It was in Toronto, got into a car accident, and then really struggled to continue training for the rest of my time. But I think after that, it was like, okay, well, what's the intention here? Where do we want to go? What do we want to do? And it was important for us to try to start a family at some point. So it seemed like a natural, segue to maybe like, let's be done with the bodybuilding for now and let's kind of focus on something else. But it was such a testament to like strength, resiliency, adversity, digging deep, discipline, like all those really important things in life that you just have to experience. It was honestly such an awesome time. And I'm not saying I won't ever do it again. Like part of me would like to compete in the future, but it takes 100%, that's for sure. And right now I just can't give that. So
Now,
but I love it.
What kind of training actually goes into, bodybuilding and those type of events?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I was like probably putting in at least 2 to 3 hours in the gym every day, 6 days a week anyway. And more so than training, like you're training till failure. You are doing like ridiculous amounts of cardio. You're like, I mean, it's a huge endeavor, but more so than actually physically training is like the nutrition portion where I was weighing every single thing that I was eating, like whether it be gum that I was tracking or like my lettuce for my salads, like weighing my lettuce or
Wow.
bringing meals out to restaurants, you know what I mean? So 9 straight months of like not having a social life, weighing my meals to the gram of like lettuce, vegetables, like it's really all or nothing. Like to me, it was like, I'm not going to go half in on this. I'm going fully in. Which is why maybe it worked out in my favor, but you really have to be meticulous with the nutrition. I think is probably 70 to 80% of that entire package.
Is there any like allowance for cheat days at all? Because I don't think I could do like 9 months without crushing a bag of chips or something.
I know. It depends on your coach, honestly. Like some coaches will say like, yes, have cheat days here and there. Some coaches will say like have refeed days. So you may have like, 50 extra grams of carbohydrates to utilize. So you may be able to have like an extra, banana or two, or like an extra piece of bagel or whatever it is. It just depends a lot on like your metabolism and your progress and everything like that. But there are oftentimes coaches will allow you to have cheat meals. It really depends on the level you're competing at as well. If you're competing at the pro level, like you do not want any room for error, because you could have that burger and all of a sudden like a ton of your progress is gone, right? So just kind of depends on the level, the coach, the genetics. Like some people can have a cheat meal and actually end up looking even more jacked. So there's so many variables that go into it. And initially I coached competitors, and it's honestly just such a science, even in regards to like how much water you're drinking, how much salt you're consuming, that I'm like, this is like totally not for me. Like it's really, you got to be all about it to really do that. Yeah.
You mentioned you placed 5th place in the world at the Arnolds. Did you get to meet Arnold Schwarzenegger at all?
He was there. I didn't get to meet him, but I was like totally creeping him. Yeah, I wanted to. It was my goal, but it didn't happen. Yeah, he's a legend.
Well, now you do Power by Petra. You're coaching women's fitness. I'll never go through it personally, but you put a focus on postpartum workouts.
Yeah.
For the moms watching and listening, and we have a lot of female rider fans that follow us. What's your advice for getting back into exercising following childbirth? Because I can't imagine that would be very easy, right?
Well, the thing is that like the reason why I specialize in postpartum corrective core is just because of that. Is like we need to know as postpartum, women, that training does look a little bit different after you have children. And the reason for that is because, our core changes entirely. Like we have to grow a human inside of our core. And so after they're out, we have to rehabilitate that area and we have to strengthen it from the inside out. And that's something that not a lot of trainers focus on, which is why it's my main focus, because I know that the difference of training before kids and then the difference of training after kids is pretty different as it relates to your core. So that's always a huge focus when I program workouts, is how can we heal and strengthen your deep core from the inside out. But I was a competitive bodybuilder, so I really appreciate things like nice glutes and broad shoulders, and trying to kind of emulate this hourglass figure, this feminine figure that a lot of women try to strive for. But the most important thing is healing the core from the inside out, because it also can regulate the nervous system as well. Like when we become pregnant, our diaphragm kind of flattens, and so we don't actually breathe properly, but we don't get taught how to breathe properly after we give birth. So that's a huge thing that I try to incorporate into my training programs, is like we need to heal your core from the inside out. And by doing so, there's so many benefits, like decreased back pain, your functional fitness is going to improve, like you can, your pelvic floor is going to improve. There's so many benefits to incorporating deep core work that a lot of people don't know about. But once you kind of start training like that, you can understand why it's necessary. And truthfully, I think it's necessary for postpartum women, but it's also beneficial for the general public. Like truly anyone and everyone should be doing this, but it really becomes imperative for postpartum women.
And it was actually just announced yesterday by the Saskatchewan Roughriders. You're going to be doing a 50-minute strength workout at Mosaic Stadium on August 10th. Of course, Sabine, one of the in-game co-hosts, is going to be doing a yoga session after that. Tell us a little bit about that. First off, like, how did that whole idea come to play?
Well, it has been my goal for some time to do a big kind of field workout like that. Ever since Corey's been involved with football, I'm like, that's a great space. Like, that would be some good energy, some good vibes. And to be honest, I'm like, there's football is mainly a guy's thing. Like, trust me, like females, we can all be fans of football. Like that's 100%. But I'm like, what can we do to give back to kind of, the female demographic and just kind of like have a time with it. You know what I mean? I know they do it in other stadiums across the league. So I'm like, why can't we do that here? Like we could do something that's, centered around the foundation, give back to the community, and truly just open up a space where we can have a great workout, a great stretch, empower people around us to just live their best life and do it through movement and just, have a great time, but even maybe inspire them to want to do this more for themselves, not just once, but continually.
And then so is this a free event? Can anybody just walk in and show up, or do you have to sign up for it?
So you got to sign up and you got to buy a ticket. The tickets are $25 plus tax, which is honestly a great value. I do believe they're going to be handing out some swag bags, and I think Supplement King is going to be there as a sponsor as well. So all in all, it's a really good value. You're going to get a great workout. You're going to get a good stretch, but it's also the experience. You know what I mean? Like how often is it that you can come to Mosaic and just be around a bunch of incredible people, have a great workout, and you're going to leave feeling fresh, feeling great. And yeah, I think it's a little bit of an investment, but it'll be well worth it.
But I did see the proceeds from that is going to the Saskatchewan Roughriders Foundation. But I think there's an age restriction on there as well too. Is that right?
Yeah, so I think 13 up. So anyone 13 and up. And the reason for that is because you want to be kind of like locked in. You know what I mean? Like you don't want to be having to parent your kids on the field. Like I wanted this to be something where, the moms, the ladies, you guys come down, you get a good workout, like just some you time, because it's hard. We bring our kids to everything, So if they're like, at the age where they feel like they want to work out and do it, for sure. But, my kiddos won't be there working out. But maybe in the future we'll do a family event. I don't know. It could be something that we'll try to look at.
Oh, that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Now, speaking of coaching, you coaching as well too. Do you ever throw little elbow nudges at Corey about coaching and how to? Because I know coaching now is different, especially in pro football, than it ever has been.
Yeah.
Are you telling him that, hey, maybe run the ball a little bit more, blitz a couple times here and there? Like, do you guys coach each other as coaches as well too?
Well, I would say most of the time, first of all, understanding football in coaches terms is to me, it's an entirely different language. Like I even tell them that I'm like, this is what it looks like to me, but what's kind of going on the inside? Like, can you explain what's happening? And I don't really grasp it as much. Like, think about, he's been in pro football for how many years and he's still like learning and learning and learning, right? So there's no way that I can understand football on that level. But oftentimes I will ask him like, babe, I have a client who is resistant to this or is like a little harder to coach. Like, what's your opinion? What would you do in this situation? So if anything, it's more me asking him his like advice on like what to do with certain qualities or whatever. And he always has very good advice to share. It's not much more the other way though. He doesn't usually come to me and say, babe, what should I do about this play? No, not me.
I did read that you prefer baking to cooking.
I do.
So what does Petra Mace like to bake?
Well, I used to love baking. Baking is super therapeutic for me. I love baking like banana bread or, things like that. But cooking to me is like I was telling you, like when I think about food, I think about fuel. And I don't know if that's the bodybuilder in me or what, but I don't make like very delicious, gourmet meals. I make meals that are like, are you getting your protein and carbs and fats? Like, so I feel bad for Corey because he doesn't really have like, tasty meals, but I also think it's a benefit. We try to keep us all on track as best as we can. But yeah, I would say like I love baking banana bread and just little cakes and muffins and stuff that the kids like. But I haven't been doing that a whole lot lately. It's just been like a lot of other stuff going on.
So what you're saying is if a Rider fan were to go to a practice one day and see you sitting there, they wouldn't find you with some extra goodies or anything?
You know
No?
what? I got to get back to doing that. In Calgary, I used to, every time Corey would coach the D line, so every time the D line would get like 5 sacks a game, I would come and like bring the whole D line like ridiculous treats. And then I just like, I think in Toronto is when that kind of like stopped. Like, well, and also he was the DC. So I'm like, now I have an entire defense that I need to account for. And then, like I don't know how it happened, but I gotta get back to that. Can you imagine baking for an entire team though? Like some of these fans do it, and I'm like, power to you. But
Connie in Calgary. I'm sure you know exactly who I'm
yes,
talking
oh
about.
yeah,
Connie,
yeah,
she's
yeah,
fantastic. Yeah,
yeah.
I think she still does cookies for the guys.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy. And I know Carrie here in Saskatchewan does like winning game day treats, and I'm like, listen, Carrie, you do that, girl. You do that because I would love to, but everything is so time consuming, and as it is, there's so many things that need to get done that don't get done. So eventually, I think we'll have to commit and do that. Maybe I'll get the kids to help me. They're great bakers as well. Melina's really good.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And finally, I know you got to get going to go get the kids and get ready for the game here. I know that you and Corey do a turkey drive in every city that you have been in, Calgary and Toronto. Are we going to be seeing one in Regina later this year?
I don't know. We did not do it in Toronto. We did, I think, 9 years in Calgary. Like it was very near and dear to our hearts to do that. It's always something that we've wanted to do, is always have that community aspect. So, I mean, I'm not saying no, because it's something that for sure we would love to be involved with the community as much as we can. It'll be something that does take a lot of energy and time though. So we'll have to see how the season goes, and close to the end of the season is like obviously the end of November too, right? So it's some of that's a little bit of a time constraint. It was a lot of work, but we're gonna find a way to do our best to give back to the community, because that's really important to both of us.
Well, Petra, thank you so much for making time here on the Piffles Podcast, inviting us into your life, giving us a good look at what it's like to be on that side of a football family, and that's not something that a lot of people talk about. So I appreciate that, and I think we'll leave it there so you can go and get the kids and cheer on Daddy and the Riders tonight.
Exactly. Our day's just getting started. I appreciate you having me, Alex. Thank you. I know that's not typically something you do, but hopefully, give the audience a little bit of different perspective. And we are grateful to be here. We love everything about Saskatchewan and the Riders, and go Riders. Let's go.